Hey, man. Season already crazy, dog. Malik and JD, they get to play. Both of them go crazy. 4th down. Ball hits Malik's hands. He drops it. He's pissed off. And I'm trying to tell him, shoot, dog, you ball. But, like, that's what the league about.
But Malik went crazy. Jaden went out there. He trying to carry that team out there in Washington. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it's about with the rookies. High drafted rookies are going to be on teams that are struggling. Caleb.
I was watching the game. I was like, get him out. Throw the towel.
Cold Red, take the chain off the door. The enemy is here. Yeah, but that's what it's about, being a rookie, being a high drafted rookie.
Yeah, but we all know, right? We've been through it. Like, you have to be consistent. Rookies can make rookie mistakes, but you can't make a ton of rookie mistakes. All right, what happens when veterans make rookie mistakes? They grab a Snickers?
He ain't got no job no more.
You get cut. What you mean when veterans make a mistake? You get
But it
paid
happens,
too much.
RC.
You get paid too much.
Yeah.
But that is part of the game.
Yeah, but the other piece of it is too, though, like, I think about myself as a rookie. Because I wasn't drafted, I didn't have these high expectations. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, my thing was getting on the field. My thing was trying to have a job. People weren't, like, criticizing and scrutinizing every single thing I do.
And the young quarterbacks, that's what one thing about young quarterbacks is that now you're the face of the franchise. And that's the tough part, is that everybody's looking at you. Everybody's waiting for you to change this. Everybody's waiting for you. No matter what's around Caleb, no matter what's around Jaden, it's on you to make that difference. And that's the difference between playing linebacker. I can go out there and make me 10 tackles and I look like an all-star.
Yeah.
We could lose by 30. And they say, oh, that pick was a great pick. He had a great game. If you lose and you're a quarterback, you're a failure, no matter what they do. Hey, the with Jason is funny.
Oh, he be cutting up.
It's funny. Like, it's like the breakdown, offensive lineman pulling around, like his offensive lineman breakdown. It's cool because it's something nobody done before, but just bullshitting with him.
Yeah, he's fun. He cool, man.
Yeah, like, but it tickled me, like, when y'all were just, like, chopping it up.
Yeah, we got in trouble for saying tits too much, though.
Like, I laughed. Like, I don't laugh at broadcasts. I did laugh when y'all were talking to him.
What up, though?
Hey, them.
What's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
Good seeing you.
Yes, sir.
Damn, let me see what money smell like.
What's up, dog?
Let me see what money smell like.
Shit, we got the same color kicks, but mine don't cost as much as those. We got the big boys.
That's the like the slick stuff rich people do. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna wear these little pants, this little hoodie, and then I'm gonna do this right here.
I mean, but he's been around
You guys are very funny with this already.
He's been around for a minute. You know, that subtle, non-flash.
I think you get to the top of the mountain and ain't nowhere to go, and then you just...
But that's why he is who he is, though.
Well, you know, him and Fred, too, both graduated high school, 60s. And you gotta think all they had to go through.
My turn. We're trying to get you, but now it's my turn.
Okay, good.
They went through Jim Crow. Yeah.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, can't pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, can't pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, can't pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up.
Man, we're excited to have you. Steve Stoute, CEO of United Masters. I mean, CEO of Translations. You were able to sell it, get it back. So much you've done in the music business as well, whether it was Interscope, Sony. I mean, go all the way back to Kid and Play, which, you know, I remember being locked into that. But welcome to the Pivot, part of Fanatics. Fred Taylor, Channing Crowder. I'm Ryan Clark. Pivot fam, thank you for pivoting with us. We had an interesting conversation. We got a chance to talk, and I think it's something that's really important to me. Being from New Orleans, the Super Bowl being in New Orleans this year, you having a relationship with Jay and knowing a lot of the inner workings of how the Super Bowl halftime artist is picked. For all of us, we thought it was a no-brainer. We thought it was gonna be 504, Wheezy, he was gonna bring up Juvie, Trombone Shorty. It was just gonna be a plethora of New Orleans musicians, and then Jay decides to pick Kendrick Lamar. What can you tell us about the process and how Kendrick was picked for the 24-25 halftime show?
You know, I couldn't tell you the process on what the creative process was. I know, you know, Jay's considering the artists, the performance, you know, the artist's performance ability, what's gonna put forth the best show to 300 million viewers around the world. I mean, that's his role, that's his job, that's the way he sees the assignment. And, you know, he chose to go with Kendrick. I mean, Kendrick is an unbelievable performer. It's not like you could knock Kendrick. I mean, I guess that's what some of the hate that was spewing this week was. It was confusing to me because you can't disrespect Kendrick because you chose Kendrick. And naturally, Wayne is hurt. It happens all the time. I've sat there with Jay-Z, the Grammys, he gets nominated for 8 awards and walks away with none. It doesn't feel good. Nobody at that level of success wants to be let down or be told, you're not chosen tonight. But the way Lil Wayne handled it, he's talked about it. He says, man, I was hurt. He admitted it. That's the natural feeling. But then people coming off the top buckle, you know, just starting to say shit like, Jay's a bad person and he has distaste for this person and that person. And, you know, the comments that were being said and that Nicki spearheaded was, I just think it was wrong and way out of line. And I was surprised that she would be that personal with him, given all the doors and opportunities that he's given us all, and specifically her.
But the Wayne angle would be like, even RC said, he's a New Orleans dude. It's Wayne, it's New Orleans, it's the city, it's the damn gumbo, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that city. Like, the decision should be about I guess, accentuating the area.
That's not typically how it works. You don't pick the act based off the city that they're from. I mean, that's not the criteria they pick the Super Bowl performers from. I mean, let's be honest, man. Don't you think for 1 second we may be slightly spoiled? Jay got into the Super Bowl, halftime performances. You think these hip hop acts would be getting picked at all if it wasn't for him? But why are we not celebrating that? Why are we criticizing the decision when he picked Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem and 50 and Mary and did that, or put Kendrick on the big stage so that he and Kendrick to have this opportunity, or others that were picked? Why are we not celebrating that idea? That's the part that's confusing to me.
I love that you brought that up. Isn't that the Super Bowl halftime performance that created the expectation that Lil Wayne would perform in this Super Bowl? Because when you mentioned Dre, it was Snoop, and then from the lineage of Dre and Snoop, we got 50 Cent, who was a part of Interscope and Death Row.
Yeah.
And obviously it went to Kendrick because Kendrick was also working under Dre. And so when we saw that entire performance, it was sort of that Mary J. Blige and Eminem were the outliers, and 50 from not being from New York, but we understood they were all part of Death Row or Interscope in some way, and Mary J. is just the queen of hip hop, right? And so it was the thought process, we saw Jay do that before. Not that it's beholden of him to do that. We saw Jay do that before. Wayne, to many of us, is one of the greatest rappers that ever lived. It just felt like it fit. I don't think Jay is wrong for his decision, but I do believe there was an expectation for Wayne, and I think for a lot of us who are from there, who really thought it would just be great for the city. And I think you overlook the halftime show is probably more for the 300 million people watching the Super Bowl than it is for the city it's taking place in.
Usher in Vegas, right? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, man, the fact that these artists are getting their flowers and are getting their chance to perform on this stage, these black artists, hip hop and R&B artists, if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
So how could you come down and criticize this man like that? To me, it's beyond me. I just don't get that logic. And I will confirm, Drake was offered the Super Bowl twice.
Wow.
Drake did turn down the Super Bowl twice. And I'm sure if Drake would have said yes, he would have brought Lil Wayne out at some point, right? He probably would have brought out Nicki, which is probably why she's upset, because she's not on stage. But Drake turned it down twice. So there's like this, the NFL, somebody spoke to, no. He turned it down twice, which is fine. He didn't want to do it. But nobody's gonna say, damn, why'd you turn it down? You could have got Lil Wayne on. Right? Nobody's gonna connect that dot. The other thing is that no one seems to think about is why isn't Jay-Z picking himself? Like, he's not even being selfish about it for himself. Why isn't somebody saying, man, you know what? He's actually making a decision based off of what he thinks the best performance is at the right time, music, etc. Because he's not even using this moment to satisfy himself. He has catalog. He can rock.
Yeah.
He's nice. He's not even choosing himself. To me, that should be celebrated. That he's not being selfish and he's helping these artists and giving them what they deserve and not being selfish about it and choosing only, Rock Nation acts or himself. Because if it was just that, I could understand it. But for it to come down like this is just, to me, shit is corny. And it makes the hip hop community, the black community, it leaves a stain.
I think sometimes we have to consider, thinking outside the box. At the end of the day, when I first heard it, I was a bit saddened because I'm a Wayne fan, hometown, the whole dynamic. But after you really step away from it and actually look at the big picture, you understand it's a numbers game. It's a crunch. In our business, it's a crunch. Like, you root for certain guys that make the team as players, but everybody can't go. Everybody can't make the team, right? So the conversation always also reminds me of growth. Like, to see Jay do what he's done in his game, I believe at the end of the day, it's all about the pivot, right? You get in here, and it's all about growth. It's about pivoting, and it's about maximizing, your time that you put in it. Which brings me to a question. This is a real question. I don't want to stir up no shit.
Yeah, there's no problem, man.
It's a real question. Jay-Z's former partner, Dame Dash. What's going on with Dame? Because you get in the game, you try to grow, right? You try to grow, you want to achieve success and not look back.
Yeah.
You want to be able to pivot and bring others along. I think that's what Jay has done, or he's attempted to do. On the other hand, I don't know. I'm a fan of Rockefeller. I grew up in that era. I was a big fan of everything they had going on, but now it's like lost one. I don't get it. So that's the question I'm asking.
I think it's important to understand the master recording. And I talked about that a lot when I started United Masters. The idea was that artists should own their masters.
Yeah.
And I was saying it loudly, and I was talking about it, at the top of my lungs, screaming it. Avoid record companies. Be independent, own your shit, it has value. To me, the loudest example of that's in plain daylight, is this. Now you got Jay-Z, right, one of the biggest artists ever. And his first album, his former partner owns 1/3 of it. Mm-hmm. And there's value to it. He's trying to sell it. He's trying to do NFTs with it a couple years ago. So for all artists looking at this, you see how that master is the equivalent of real estate or any other asset that's everlasting. So it's an education that if you own something and master recording, it has the same kind of value that you would have if you bought a house that appreciated over time. That's why it's important that artists own their masters, just in general, right? That's number one. Use this as an example of why it's important to have ownership of this, because it's an asset that goes with you for the rest of your life. On the Dame side, you have friends that you grew up with, man, and as you pivoted and as you grew, they couldn't jump the fence anymore. They couldn't jump the next fence. They couldn't go. Right. And it don't look good. It ends bad. This ends really bad. The man's, it's embarrassing, actually. It goes from a point where, whatever, ha, 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 rap beef, you didn't make it, you're not that guy, to your teeth is falling out. Yeah. I mean, seriously, your teeth are falling out. You're lying through your teeth and your teeth are falling out. You're trying to create and muster animosity with anybody to create some momentum around some bullshit. You're trying to sell a master and sell a chain with it like people are children. Like, yeah, I want to get the chain for $10 million. Like, are you serious, dog? And then you're running around giving people financial advice like you're the OG. You're not the OG.
Yeah, I mean, it's about,
You can't be giving people bad advice and run around being the OG.
Well,
Don't do this. I'm broke because all I do is invest in myself. And no, you're broke because you made bad investments in yourself. Come on.
but he put a bunch of stuff out there, bro, and then even, we all watch it, we all hip-hop dudes.
Yeah.
What the stuff that Dame says about you that you just have to clear up? Because he said he slapped you over $18,000. He said,
No.
I can get a list of stuff that I done heard about it.
No. Not only, Dame, over $18,000, Dame and I had an altercation, right? We had 2 altercations. We were in an office at Sony, not at Sony, at his record, we were in the same building. There was like 10 guys in the room, I was by myself, and we got into an altercation. No doubt. Yelling, fighting, whatever. About 2 years later, I seen him. We were on the same street, and it was him by himself. He had 2 girls with him. I went to step to him. This man pushed the girl in front of me and took off running. The girl he pushed in front of me falls and then sues me. The insurance company pays out her just to not even have lawyers. They just write, just approve it, Steve. They don't even tell me. They just settle, whatever it is they settle is, $30,000 or some bullshit for nothing. He pushed the girl faking to fall on the floor, my ankle, all the bullshit. About 5 hours after that, we're at Kanye's party, and the girl walks up to me and tells me, "You don't remember me?" I'm like, "No." A girl walks up to me and tells me, "You don't remember me?" I'm like, "No." She says, "I was the girl who sued you. The money that you gave us, we used to settle out in LA, to move out to LA. Thank you."
Wow.
That's his woman now. So we've always had a thing with each other. What do you want me to say, man? He's in bad shape. He's been in bad shape for a long time. He's not tough. I'm not saying I'm tough. I certainly was not running and doing fucking jumping jacks in the street to get the cops to stop and then had some girl sue me. I didn't do no bullshit like that, you know? But that's him, man. That's him.
You mentioned United Masters.
Yeah.
I saw something where a kid from Kid and Play said he introduced you to the music world. He said that you were a shark. You was made for this business. You were a shark. He was a dolphin. For me, it seems a bit contradicting that if you're a shark for the music industry and how the music industry comes across, why would you create United Masters to protect the artists if, in fact, that you're considered, a shark in the industry?
You know, coming up in the business back in the days, you were so excited to be in the business because you love hip hop and you loved all the excitement around it. We were all doing it because it was something that we loved and it was making money. As you fast forward, you start to realize that the people behind it, really the powers that be, dominated by white men who didn't really care about the culture at all, but was taking all the money because they owned the rights, they owned the recordings, they owned everything, right? And as you started to grow as an executive, as a business person, you started to realize this really doesn't make any sense. I'm sure you've seen it in your industry, right? You've seen it in sports, like, wait a minute, our contracts aren't guaranteed. This is fucking crazy, right? You start, whatever it is, you see the inconsistencies in the business and it's not right. And when music went digital, I'm like, you don't even need record companies anymore. TikTok replaced MTV. Apple and Spotify is the new record store and radio. Why would an artist need to sign with a record company and give up their name and likeness, in the beginning of their career to get an opportunity that they can get on themselves? So let me build a platform, United Masters, so that an artist can go right from his living room, right from his bedroom, wherever he records or she records, use our platform, and get their music out everywhere around the world. And it has proven to be massively successful. Massively successful. In the beginning, it was hard because the artists thought, wait a minute, is this really gonna work? Or the aspiration was to be with a record company. And then you start realizing the aspiration is to actually own the music and own your intellectual property. And then on top of that, we got success. You know, it started with NLE Chopper, this kid Lil Tecca. You know, we were the launching pad for these artists. And now we got Big X the Plug and, you know, Latin artists around the world. And we opened in Brazil and now we're in Africa and, you know, we're doing our thing. It's been 7 years of building this company. But the idea of being a shark or whatever, you know, his analogy was, I care about business.
Right.
I am about business. I've always been about business. And I've figured out a business in which it can be beneficial to the artist, mutually beneficial, while they still own something that they can take for the rest of their lives. And that was very important to me.
Right. That's love. Yeah.
Man, we got a special show for y'all today, but I want to give a huge shout out to SoFi, our sponsor for this show, the all-in-one finance app.
I know from personal experience, guys, that sports can change a kid's life, but sometimes these teams, the cost of sports for that family, they can't get it done. And now SoFi has teamed up with Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, and they're trying to change these kids for the better. They're trying to help the next generation of athletes with Game Changer Challenge. It's beautiful.
Together, they are awarding $100,000 to public high school sports teams across the country. So young athletes can have a chance to reach their ambitions. So that's $50,000 for one public high school team and $10,000 for 5 other public high school teams.
So if you're a part of a team who can use an assist, head to SoFiGameChangers.com and submit a short video showing what your team is all about.
Tell us about the work you've put in, why your team is special, and what your goals are for this season. Y'all have until October 7th to submit your team or click in the description, or you could also go to SoFiGameChangers.com. Let us know why you need that bread.
Good luck and tell them the Pivot sent you. Thank you to SoFi.
No purchase necessary, 50 USDC, 18 plus who are nominated and either parent, guardians of the public high school students, a current or former high school athlete, or employed by a public high school. Void where prohibited by law. Contest entry period ends at 6:59 a.m. Pacific time, 10/7/24, subject to official rules, including methods of entry, limit prizes, and judging criteria. SoFiGameChanger.com sponsors Social Finance LLC.
To that question, and just speaking to the almost an agent, marketer, advertiser, entrepreneurship, and an author, but just go back. Because I don't read about a lot of little Steve. I don't read about what made that, what created that, what made the guy in his 20s that's making a bunch more money than I made in my 20s. Like, what was that? When did that vision start? Like, what created Steve?
West Indian parents, man. West Indian, you have parents from the Caribbean, man. You start working at 10, 11 years old, man. It's just part of the DNA, man. My parents are from Trinidad. And, you know, I was delivering newspapers and working at flea markets, doing odd jobs and, you know, cleaning buses. I was doing whatever. I wanted to make money. I always wanted to make money my whole life. And it was, that work ethic was instilled in me as a young man. And went to college, dropped out of college, went to 5 colleges in 2 years. I wasn't inspired by it.
5 and 2.
Just dropped out,
That's
man.
impossible.
Yeah, it is. It is. You just go, you do a semester, leave, go to another college, do a semester, leave. I just couldn't, I was looking for something, I couldn't find it. And I didn't know the word was entrepreneur, but I had ideas. I got into real estate, started selling mortgages in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, buying houses, you know, getting money, buying houses, flipping them, but really starting to sell mortgages, and took that money and then met a producer, and that producer was producing music but wasn't getting credit for it. What happened is, back in the days, is if you were a producer, but somebody you didn't have equipment and you didn't have a studio. So if somebody put up the equipment in the studio, let you use their equipment in the studio, they would basically get credit for the song, or a lot of credit, or they would take it from you. A lot of hip hop producers got credit taken from them for much of the early beginning of their career. A lot of famous songs, you'd be like, damn, who did that? And you'd be like, damn, I didn't even know you did that. Because they got robbed of it. right? So I met a kid who had got robbed. He had done records for Salt and Pepper and didn't get credit for it. So I'm like, I meet him, I buy the equipment. I'm like, let's work together. Let's be partners. I'll manage you. We'll do this. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But at the same time I'm starting to do that, I meet Kid and Play through Wiz, their DJ, and Kid knows a comedian who's now starting, his career is getting going. And the opportunity's there, like, look, I got this producer, he got an opportunity to do a show, a TV show. That's right. And then we make the Martin Lawrence theme song, and that's the first thing that we got that broke. And then when that broke, that was the momentum I needed to get more and more and more shit, and that ended up honestly leading to, working with Left Eye and TLC early. I was that whole story, and then Nas and Mary, and then that whole, all of that.
Yeah,
I got crazy, crazy stories, man.
Yeah, you've been quoted though.
I
as
got
saying,
wild stories.
You've been quoted as saying you care about respect more than money.
Money, always
But
did.
when you were talking about just being raised the way you were and working as hard, you said you always loved money.
The money was a byproduct of doing the job, right? So, and the other thing is I wanted to take financial pressure off my family. So if I could buy my own drawers, my own tees and all that shit, it was important because we didn't get it, we didn't have it like that. We weren't poor, but we didn't have it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, my parents sent us to Catholic school, and that was really it. We had a house, and we were going to Catholic school, and outside of that, shit was meager. That's where the money went.
Yeah, you mentioned early sort of the black eye on the hip hop culture when Nicki may say disparaging things about Jay, who has opened up a ton of doors because she feels a certain way about the way, at least the person she considers her mentor has been treated in this Super Bowl decision. I look at something like what's going on with Diddy, and to me, that's more of a black eye for the hip hop community, culture. It's more of a black eye for us as black men. When you see what he's done, when you hear about what's been found in seizure, how do those things sit with you, or what are your thoughts on the way that it's revealed who he was and how people perceive the entire culture of hip hop because of it?
I think it's fair to say that he had a drug problem. He has a drug problem. He hasn't come out and said it publicly. He had a drug problem or has a drug problem. But like, first and foremost, I think it's clear at this point. It's fucked up that somebody who's that iconic, we've never seen anything like this before. Somebody of that stature fall from grace right before our very eyes in a short period of time. We've not seen that before. So trying to digest it all, I mean, to the point where they denied him bail. I mean, that's what they denied Harvey Weinstein bail. They denied the kid who hung himself, Jeffrey Epstein bail.
Yeah.
So it's like they're putting him in that category, And it's tough to see because now you know the person, you've seen the person, you've interacted with the person. That's the last thing you expected. So everybody's, the jokes in the beginning was the jokes in the beginning. And then when the tape came out, it was like, oh shit, what the fuck? This is not like a sexy, freaky party, Rick James, bitch, type of thing. This is really bad. It is definitely a black eye for the culture. And the most important things here is his kids, They lost their mom. Now their dad is going through this. And when you break everything back down to the kids, you think about a family and what's the results, and what is that gonna lead to when you have a mom who passed away and your dad is this public figure who's now in this situation. So I feel for the kids.
I think the hardest part is, obviously, when you're speaking of Kim Porter, the rumors that if you pay a little attention to what goes on in hip hop, there's always been rumors that Diddy was a certain way. and it
Was a
goes.
what?
He was a certain way, like he lived a certain way. And then now that you get proof that some of those things are true, I couldn't imagine looking at my parents or losing my mother and seeing my father now go through this. But every time you hear about these things and we start connecting the dots, there's always somebody, there's a Steve Stoute or there's a Jay-Z or somebody that's like, I never even saw that. Like, I didn't know that. You got to see an ugly side of him though. You dealt with Diddy after the Hate Me Now video where him and some other dudes put hands on you. And eventually you dismissed, or you allowed the charges to be dismissed because he apologized. Were there things during that time where you guys became close again, where you saw some clues or hints that some of these things could be going on?
Coming up in rap music in the 90s, when you look back at it now, it was like, man, the money was flowing. There was like 10 of us that was, a small handful of us that was really doing it at a high level. And between the money, the success, the competition, it was competitive. It was competitive. We didn't know how long it was gonna last, who was gonna be the man. It was a lot of that type of energy around the whole thing. That's what it was. But we all came up like friends. It's like football from, whether it was like the guys who came from in Miami, who came from that one area in Miami. What's the area when all those guys from UM came from? Liberty City.
Liberty City,
right?
Overtown,
Liberty. It's like you come up together and then y'all go to different schools and then y'all are competing. And everybody wants to be the man. Who's the fastest, who's the strongest, who's this. But the competition, when you remove the competition, you come back to, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We came up together. This opportunity has changed all of our lives. And whatever issues him and I had, it was easy to get back to the fact that, we came up in this business together. We came up as friends. We came up as, guys who were trying to make the most out of this opportunity, and there was a level of respect there. And while it was fucked up, we got past all of that, and I forgave him. We were kids. To see this right now, no, I didn't see anything that would lead to something like this. This to me is drugs. To me. Somebody said to me a while ago, you're not a drug addict till you can't afford it. And the line was more like, when someone can't afford drugs, you see them a certain way, like it's obviously they're a drug addict, right? They're fucked. But when you got money and you could afford all the drugs all the time, you can mask the appearance of a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the things we notice about drug addicts is when they're strung out and can't get drugs, right? It's the struggle. It's the struggle of not being able to get the fix that makes you even, right? And they're not even. But the power that comes along with doing what you guys were doing in the 90s, Steve, when it was Biggie and when it was Nas and when Jay dropped Reasonable Doubt in 96, how difficult was it to not lose yourself in what you all were becoming? To stay baseline, to stay grounded in what made you, like Channing asked you, what made you who you were, to allow yourself to not lose it all?
I have a great deal of respect for artists that came up as kids. Like when I think about LL Cool J being successful and at 16 years old, or Usher being successful at a really young age, and you're like, how do you keep it together that long? How do you stay? And as an executive, when you start making money at a young age, to your point, it's difficult to keep it together unless you are grounded in principles that are non-negotiable. And I can tell you there's a lot of us from my generation that I know for a fact that the success has not changed them. It's made them more of who they already are. But it didn't change them and turn them into an asshole or a crazy. But again, man, drug addiction is something that I don't know why, what makes some people addicted to a drug. You try it, I try it, we try it, but then somehow you got hooked on it, and I decided, this ain't it. We all got that in our lives, in our families, right? So that's how I summarize the whole thing. This person, in my opinion, I could be wrong. All of this that we've seen is, in my opinion, is something that is a byproduct of addiction.
Yeah, quickly, the addiction from an executive standpoint, because we were on, as an athlete, you're the worker level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We millionaires, we make money, but there are people that decide our lives.
Yeah.
On that executive level, when you do find somebody and you see that they have a problem or you see that they have an issue or how much do you really get involved? Like artists, creatives, and all that stuff where we both earning money together. Do I really want to get involved with what he does after he leaves the studio and all of that stuff? How much do you get involved as an executive?
With the artists I work with, a lot. With other executives, with your peers, not really, because it doesn't look that. You don't really know. How many guys, if you hung out with, y'all drink, then all of a sudden you're like, what's wrong with him? It's almost like some people, I've seen it with alcohol, where people drink, and it's almost like they're allergic to alcohol. They turn into a different person. They're not just drunk having a good time, they turn into a brand new person.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that kind of thing. And by the way, I'm guessing. I don't know. That's just what it looks like to me from my vantage point. I haven't been up close enough, to the situation in a very long time. The other thing in Puff, in Diddy's situation, is he lost the love of his life, Kim, and his mentor, Andre Harrell. Andre Harrell was a mentor to many of us, but he was like Puff's father. And when he lost Andre, who was the only person that could really reel him in, that was a huge loss. That was his North Star. Person who could be like, nah, go back. And he lost him too. When you're going through tough times and you ain't got that person, man, and is, drugs or any substance at all involved, I'm sure, you're in that dark hole and you ain't got nobody to help pull you out, or somebody that can help pull you out. Things like this, I guess, is all possible.
Yeah, I like to think that drugs are not only ingested, right? Entitlement, I believe, is a drug. Mm-hmm. Depends on how you handle it. Success, the same. And power,
And rationalization.
Exactly, right? So you don't just have to ingest the drug. I mean, Puffy was dealt and he earned a lot of those things. And sometimes you can abuse those like a drug. Your book in 2011, I want to see if it still applies to this day. Was it The Tanning of America?
Yeah.
Right? How hip-hop created a culture that rewrote the rules of the new economy.
Yeah.
That reminds me of everything TikTok is right now.
Yeah.
With fashion, music, just everything across the board. Do you still feel like that applies to this day and you were 13 years ahead of your time?
I wrote the book I wrote the book in 2011, and I know that I wrote the book, it was ahead of its time. What I was essentially seeing, and will continue to see, was that hip hop culture was creating popular culture. And if there was nothing that documented and showed how hip hop culture was affecting popular culture, it would just be looked at as something that people would think it started there. They wouldn't actually be able to trace the bloodline of where the idea came from. What was the original idea? I mean, you must see it all the time in sports. Like, it must be funny to you when you see the announcers talking about the gritty, or you see these, you're like looking at them going, are you serious? I know you have to deal with it. You look at it all the time, you're like, damn, she's twerking?
Somebody actually just retweeted RC when they said, come in your trap and take your trap over. And this is in the lyrics.
Yeah.
But there you actually have analysts and people on television
playing themselves.
Giving those remarks.
Playing themselves, saying anything to sound cool. I take it right now, I look at it and it's just like, for me, I'm like, I seen this shit about to happen a long time ago. when you're in the situation, I'm sure it's like, yo, you playing yourself, man. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing what Justin Jefferson does to be cool? That's not even what you do. But it's popular culture now. So they don't care where the dance started from. They don't care the song attached to it. They don't know anything about it. And if you let it keep going, they'll tell you that they made it up.
Yep, that's real. That's real. And shout out to Gritty, Destrehan, Louisiana. All love. Hey man, you know what I love about this group? It's a lot of knowledge for rookies. A 3rd round pick, a number 9 overall pick, and they forgot that I could be picked. But the cool part is Snickers is running a rookie mistake sweepstakes where you have an opportunity to win tickets to the big game. You can go down to the NO, you know, my spot, where I'm from. And also you can win weekly prizes. So you gotta tap in. And it's snickers.com/rookie mistakes.
I plan on going to the big game my whole career, but it never happened. But you know what I can get? I can get me a Snicker.
It ain't never happened. Look, my rookie mistake, listen, I've actually sat here and I ate this whole thing. Well, I might as well finish it. Big rookie mistakes. Veterans make rookie mistakes. My guy I love the most, Saquon. Big drop on 3rd down, could have closed the game out. Veterans make rookie mistakes. You're not alone, rookies. Listen, go get a Snickers and forget about it. Just eat it up like I just ate it.
I don't know if it's a mistake to eat the whole candy bar, but a mistake will be just sitting there with your mouth open, wishing that we threw you one of these Snickers and not getting on your phone and scrolling, tapping into snickers.com/rookie mistakes. Remember, you can win tickets to the big game and also weekly prizes. Back to the show. That made me think about something, right? I sit on set often and we go to these breaks and I hear this music. And a lot of times this music I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'll ask, I'll be like, hey, where's that song from or who is that? And you know, you got to prepare to get ready for an interview and a sit down, a conversation with the guest. And sometimes you find out the answer could be right in front of you. There has to be some conduit that gets the culture to the mainstream in ways that it does become normal. It does become something that we hear Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talk about. Tell me a little bit about your connection with Jimmy Pitaro and Disney and how all that came to be.
First of all, Jimmy's
my boss.
Yeah, Jimmy's that runs ESPN.
Hey, Jimmy.
Met him,
Yeah. By the way, Jimmy's a good man. Jimmy used to be at Yahoo Music years ago. When Yahoo that's when I met Jimmy. I met Jimmy maybe 22, 23 years ago. So he understood everything about music rights and independent music. He knows it cold. And I went to Jimmy and I'm like, for all of the music or a lot of the music that you're using for social media for breaks, instead of dealing with the record labels where it takes too long to clear the music, they'll pull the music down or they'll actually sue you for putting up music if you don't clear it, use United Masses music. I'll do a deal with you and I'll give you music at a quarter of the price and you'll be finding what's next. My man said, no problem. I love that. I'm gonna help discover new artists, A, and B, like, I don't wanna deal with what's going on with the labels. I feel like that's just too litigious. It takes too long. You're gonna give me pre-cleared music at a discount. Great. Yeah, because you're gonna help put these artists on. You're gonna put their name on the, the screen so they get credit. We did that same deal with the NBA. We did that same deal with the NFL. The NFL uses our music, ESPN uses our music, and we have licenses with many other brands as a result of it. New music and artists getting the opportunity to get put on. All they need is that one moment, right? Where boom, it's a dance or, you hear it you've seen it. How many times have you seen commercials? You watch a commercial and a song comes on and that's the first place you heard the song, right?
Yeah.
So all you need is that opportunity. And with United Masses, not only do we distribute your song, but because of these commercial relationships we had that RC just brought up, we allow these artists' music to get out there in the world to get bigger opportunities. So that's dope.
Yeah, that's dope.
What's the biggest difference in United Masters and traditional contracts with record labels. I know you advocate for the artists to own their own masters,
Yeah.
right? Which has a lot to do with royalties. It takes the
Well,
advantage.
not royalties. A royalty is a percentage that's paid to you if you don't own it.
Okay.
If you own it, then you're
Cut out
the
the
owner.
middleman.
Yeah. You should be paying out a royalty,
Got it.
right? You shouldn't be getting one. You were born with your intellectual property.
You lose it.
You were born, when you're an artist, you're 18 years old, you sign a deal. You literally take what you have in an old record deal, you give it to them for $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is, and then they pay you a royalty because now they own your thoughts and your image and likeness. You know how fucked up that is? And then you think about all these artists, man, whether it's Prince, Michael, whatever, they get into their 50s, they don't even own their rights. They end up dying like football players die at young age, like a lot of athletes die at young ages. Football players die at young age. They don't have shit. They don't own all of those things that they put and poured their heart into that makes them who they are. They got paid a bunch of advances against it, but at the end of the day, they don't even own it. That's why Prince changed his name. That's why he wrote slave on his face. He made himself a symbol to get out of a record contract because he didn't want them to own him. I believe in that.
What's the game plan then?
No.
What's the game plan? Because I've heard you speak about this before with the advances and all, but you a dude living in your mama's basement, making good music, and a dude offer you $1 million.
Right.
Man, give me that check, man. Yeah, and like you said, every bottle of water. What is the game plan for a young artist?
By the way, you don't need them to get the music out in the world. You don't need them to get, keep making content, keep putting out music, keep posting, keep building your fan base. The more of your fan base that you build and the more songs that you put out, you're gonna start earning money off of that. Now, at a minimum, you'll at least have leverage if you decide to do a deal with anybody. And that leverage should get you, I own it and I license it to you, right? That's, at a minimum, you should do that. But even if you don't do that, you can go the other route. You can stay independent and be independent the whole time. What Young Dolph did, what a lot of great artists did, it's not a less than thing. When they give you money up front, man, I'm just telling you right now, the idea is to buy your name, image, and likeness, put you in a bad deal so that when you are successful, they reap the benefits. My point is, you don't need them to get the start to be successful. In the 70s, the 80s, in the 70s and the 80s, the 90s, you had to do it. Because how are you gonna get all these discs out or vinyl out to all these stores, right? The barrier of entry.
Distribution was so different.
So hard. You have to make 20,000 pieces of vinyl and put it out. And there's guys who did it. Master P did it, right? At the Rockefeller, those guys did it, right? So there are people who've done it. But those are far and few between because it's really, really difficult and you have to have seed capital. But today, you can go through United Masters. We have 2 or 3 different tiers that you can go through, put the music out, build an audience, you own the rights, and then you can decide after that what you do with it. But again, the value of a master, you're just looking at it play out right now with Rockefeller. There's an auction, like a home, okay? With the first album of Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt album. That thing is valuable. That album came out in '96, and this man is trying to sell it for millions of dollars now. That just shows you how everlasting a master could be. That's why these young artists shouldn't give it up, and they should own it.
So like the Wu-Tang album,
That one album, a little different than that, but yes, that was a brand new album that. By the way, the guy who bought that album ended up going to jail.
Right, and they told him he can't sell it and the assets of it and all that.
Yeah.
Did you hear Fanatics are giving away 100+ profit boost for the first 5 weeks of football?
Plus some extra surprises in the app on game day. Plus 20 more tokens across Saturday and Sunday football.
Welcome to the most rewarding sportsbook.
Let me ask you a question. You guys, when you see what's happening right now with the NFL pay on quarterbacks and mediocre talent getting paid gigantic money. How do you equate that mediocre quarterbacks getting big money to like guys just 5 years ago who was way better that never got paid? And do you think that that is necessarily the right way to build a team and build an organization? And is that going to be sustain itself?
I believe in the free market. And if you're gonna pay me 50 a year, I'm gonna take 50 a year. The salary cap and all the stuff that, so you're talking about on the sustainability of the team. If you look at the last Super Bowl winning teams, it's why people pay quarterbacks that much, because you gotta have a good quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So the free market, if you're gonna go get a Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, them guys, you gotta give them that bread. And the good general managers are gonna find the right guys to give that money to. The bad general managers are gonna pay somebody.
Doesn't it seem more lucky?
It's not necessarily lucky.
It's a transition.
It comes down to, for example, when I came out, guys that played before me, they would probably look at my deal and say, dang, he got paid a lot more money than I would have gotten paid back in my day. And then I looked at guys and said, man, if I had come out 10 years later, 15 years later, I would have been in that pay bracket. So the collective bargaining agreement, it determines a whole lot of what these guys are getting. And then you look at the salary cap. When you break it down from a position-to-position basis, the quarterbacks are getting about 13 to 14% of the overall cap. And every team knows that. And if they believe they have a franchise quarterback or a guy who has potential to
like Kirk Cousins.
I digress.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm asking about that tier getting paid that level of money.
I mean, that was always a question mark for a lot of people. Why did Kirk get that amount of money, even when he got the first big guaranteed deal going to Minnesota, and then the amount of money he got to go to Atlanta? There were a lot of question marks and flags behind it. But I think when you come through the league, like you look at it. You try not to frown upon it. You say, congrats, you got your money, keep pushing. But the quarterback position is gonna always be that position that gets paid.
Man, Fred, it's at the shake spot. If you see something you like, you throw more money. If you see something you don't like, you
I guess it's like that.
It's
but
free
it all
market.
comes
It
down
is
to
free.
timing.
It is, Steve, it's free market, bro. It's free market.
We question it. Like, especially in my position, I play running back. We're trying to figure out what's going on with the running back position.
It's unbelievable.
They don't get that, but when you unravel it all, you say, all right, this is why the running backs don't get paid this amount of money and the quarterbacks do. So I never try to really shit on how much money a guy gets. Everybody got to get out there and earn it. And some guys are fortunate, more so than others, from a timing standpoint, to get their check than others. So
I think the biggest thing to me is his money don't affect my money. If Kirk gets less money now, it's not going to put more money in my pocket. I also think it works that way with players. If you're a good football player, the amount of money that you get or don't get is based upon you, the way you play, and who represents you. Jalen Ramsey is never going to look at anybody's money in a negative way because he's always gotten his. His next deal always made him the highest paid cornerback based on his individual play and who represented him. So it's no reason for him to be mad at Tua Tagovailoa because the market for a certain position is what it is. I think it's the same thing in every business. You pay for the competition, right? If they were giving out advances back in your day to a dude and you give a dude $10 million and nobody else was going to even give him $8 million, then you did a bad deal. But in football, there is a tier of the way quarterbacks are paid in the competition. But I love the fact that we've gotten into sports because I wanted to ask you about something that I thought was very interesting and just so relevant in 2 decades apart to be a part of a Jadakiss, Allen Iverson collaboration, right? When you think about where they were in hip hop, where they were in basketball, but what that human represented in basketball. And then you move that forward 20 years and you do a Lil Baby Ja Morant collaboration. Why is it so important to bring the culture to the forefront in those ways with those two hoopers in particular?
The Jadakiss Allen Iverson commercial was the first thing I did in advertising that really confirmed to me I belong. You talked about that, a play you made that you knew this is I belong. That was the thing I did where I was like, man, I really know how to do this shit. And what was great about it was that it was something that the people around me, the advertising professionals, said, nah, you can't do that. Hype Williams shoots music videos. He can't shoot a TV commercial. And Jadakiss wasn't even that famous. Why are you not using Nelly? Or something like that. And I'm like, nah, like if you put that thing together and the ball and that shit is gonna be crazy. And because I got the freedom to do it, because the guy at Reebok, Paul Fireman, he's the founder, he's a great, great man, really believed in me. We got a chance to do that, and it definitely changed sports marketing. Directly changed sports marketing. The Nike freestyle basketball joint came, and you started seeing a lot of the convergence of basketball and hip hop or sports and hip hop. But like, you started to see that convergence and advertising money behind it as a result of that. The Little Baby John Morant thing was I wanted to pay ode back to that idea, and I definitely feel like John Morant, as an athlete, has that same kind of reckless abandon going to the hole as AI. When they put their bodies on the line and all that, it just felt to me like that was the right idea. Like, take Little Baby and do that for Beats. And again, it worked. But I've done so much trying to always push hip hop culture forward, trying to find the most authentic way to put it forward so I didn't have to water it down in order for it to get a seat at the table. It was always gonna be what it was in its purest form. And I think that's what's made my career successful, was that other people who tried to do it would always try to, water it down a bit, homogenize it, because they felt like if you put it out there like that, it would probably not work, or the powers that be would shut it down. And I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Put that shit out just like this, And it worked every single time.
Jimmy Iovine told you to never stop knitting.
Never stop knitting. That's right.
That doesn't sound like hip hop sort of talk, and you haven't stopped knitting.
No.
What was it though that continued to push you to say, yeah, I've accomplished this, but there's something else to do? What made you continue to knit? And with that, what's the most important thing you've sewn together?
God gives you talent and opportunity. And I believe that you have to make the most out of that opportunity. You can't stop until you maximize the opportunity, the gift that was given to you. Full stop. So it has nothing to do with, the goal isn't a thing or an item. It's to go as far as you can with the opportunity and the skills that were provided to you. For me, it's infinite. How far can I go? How can I exhaust myself, all of what I was given, and contribute to moving something forward or seeing through, my talents? That's where I am on that. As it relates to the analogy around the best thing I've knitted, I've been very fortunate to work with LeBron since he was 17, Nas when he was 19, Jay, Z, starting on his second album, Mary on her second album. Great talented people, man, that I've been close to most of my whole career. And I take deep pride in that.
Yeah.
Like it's not something I take for granted, that you got a chance to work with some of the greatest talented people. Kobe Bryant, early in his career, that stuff is very important to me. I mean, the fact that I was lucky to have those opportunities to be around these people and work with them intimately, work with them. So I guess the best thing I needed was the fact that I've put myself in position, always have put myself in position to be able to do something that's important, that's urgent, that hopefully when we look back on it, when I look back on it, when it's all said and done, that it's timeless.
I'm gonna say, as you talk about like the AI, the crossover hip hop, basketball, but you're doing business with them. And it was something I was just looking at all your stuff you're doing, like you're doing business.
With Allen Iverson.
I'm gonna say it in a special way, and it's not the way I speak normally.
Yeah.
Hood individuals.
Yeah.
That crossover, and I think Jeezy put it a great way, corporate thugging.
Yeah.
It's the knowing to play both sides, knowing to, figure that out. Is that your superpower? That you can walk in the middle, you can go out in these streets, but you can also walk into...
That was my early superpower. The early superpower was like, no one was gonna go speak to the rapper, the artist. They were too afraid.
People don't go to Queensbridge and say, "Hey guys, have y'all seen Nas?"
No, they wasn't doing that. But they wasn't doing any of that. The fearlessness that I had in that example was the same fearlessness I'd walk into anybody's CEO's office and be passionate about an idea that I had. And then I learned how to package an idea. Like, it's just not walking in with the right answer, it's knowing how to package the right answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of us come up with the right answer so fast that you realize they actually don't want the answer, they want the way you got to the answer. Show me how you got to the answer. And when I learned that, how to package ideas, that's when I started, that's when my career ascended.
Where did you come from, though? Did you come from the hood dude side or the corporate side? Were you the guy that figured out how to be in the streets?
No.
Or the street dude that figured out how to walk into the office?
No. I came from, I came from Queens Village, man. No corporate nothing, man. It was the street side of things. I didn't sell drugs. I didn't do things that I thought would get me locked up and shit. But it was the environment and the proximity to it all was around me. I avoided that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to find another way. One of my first things, I always wanted to I'm gonna actually make more money than drug dealers without selling drugs. That used to be like a thing in my head. I'm gonna buy the same cars, meet the same girls, but I'm not gonna do that. And then I found that shit in real estate. I'm like, then I started flipping houses. I'm like, I got the BMW, I got the light-skinned girl with the big hoops. I'm good.
You got your Rosie Perez?
Yeah, I got, and others.
Yeah.
And others. But that's what it felt like in the beginning when I was 19, 20, when I was coming up. I learned the corporate side, but I paid attention. I've always put myself in position, like RC said, what Jimmy Iovine said. I had 3 or 4 people in my life that I really listened to. And if I'm committed. If I'm like, this is what we do and I'm gonna learn from you, I'm gonna listen to you, that's what I did. And I learned. I played the cut for a while to learn this business. And then I did something that was unpopular. I left the music business to go into advertising business.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you something. Nobody gave a fuck about the advertising business. Now the Snickers everywhere because everyone cares about the advertising business.
Don't be one of them Snickers.
Nah, that was gonna get y'all.
Appreciate you, brother.
You were supposed to hit him with it.
You were supposed to flip him one.
It's
But
locked
now
down.
everybody's in advertising, because if you got a podcast, who's your advertiser? But I'm telling you, that was a horrible throw.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it rain. And see, in hip hop,
There you go, brother.
the same culture, we make it rain. Make it rain.
But when I went to the advertising business, it wasn't popular. Like, you left the record business to go into advertising business. Everybody wants to be in the advertising business now.
Oh.
Everybody.
It's profitable now.
Nigga, if you got motherfucking podcasts, you an influencer, whatever you want to do, you want to be in the advertising business. You want money from advertisers. Got it. You want to monetize attention? Go to the advertising business. Guess what I do? Run the fucking advertising business. I started that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You ain't know it would be where it is now. You didn't know social media would be here 20 years.
No, I didn't know social media was gonna be as big. But what I did know, man, is that people were gonna be able to monetize their influence. I actually said something like 6 years ago, that everybody is gonna be mini media channels. Like, you're not as big as what does ESPN do? They create a channel, they put NFL and this stuff on it, and then they sell advertising against it.
Yep.
You're just a smaller version of that.
Yep.
That's all. And now everybody's gonna be mini media channels. That you see what you're doing, you see what Cam and Mason's doing, what Wallow and Gilly are doing, this, that, and the third. You guys are all media channels.
Yeah, true.
Right? You're gonna start disrupting the big guys.
I love it.
Because once you start getting attention because somebody says the right shit or whatever, Snickers is like, you know what? We don't want to spend money anymore on that show, Get Up, Good Morning, or whatever it is. We want to put the money here. We want to put the money there. We like the Cameron shit. We're gonna put the money there. There's a finite amount of money.
Budget.
Right? It's obviously a finite amount of attention. And that stuff will come your way. So I tell everybody in your space, you guys have done a great job. By the way, you guys have done a great job, but be prepared when the ball comes your way. Mm-hmm. Be prepared, because when they start giving you advertising money, you got to be able to, one, stick to, this is what our format is, this is what we do, we're not changing that shit for nobody, this is what works. Yep. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to say that, even when that man come with $1 million, to your point about the music thing.
That's big.
When the guy comes with $1 million, you got to make sure you could afford to take that money. Can you afford to give up the thing that they want you to give up to get that money?
Yep.
Right? The answer is no. Number one. Now they're coming in. Who are you saying no to? Now we don't want that advertising. Then you got to be able to start to create your own version of standards and practices for yourself.
Right.
They're easy the guys come in day one, cool, no problem. But now you're starting to build your media business. How do you prepare yourself for that success? Because there's rules to that.
Yeah.
Okay? And you got to be prepared for that. That's a very, very important thing. And I'm telling this to everybody. I don't give a fuck if it's you, Drewski, whoever it may be. You're now entering a place where you are the cable channel. You are the network. Mm-hmm. So what are the qualities of the network that you want to replicate so that you are able to maximize the value of what you guys have built?
I think that was the beauty in us taking a shot and really investing in that experience in Cannes this year. Disruption, yes. That was the first thing they talked about, was disruption and cutting out the middleman, like the advertising companies, agencies wanting to hear directly from the athletes, right? And the amount of money that switched hands in that short amount of time in advertising dollars was astronomical. So, which leads me to this question, which is my favorite question, pivot. Because the way the business here has flipped, your biggest pivot in life?
My biggest pivot is well known. When I left the record business and went into the advertising business. That was a huge pivot for me because I was walking away from the thing that had all the currency and the cool shit to it. It's like, oh, you the music, you running Interscope. You going to do what? Advertising. Nobody thought that was anything, Look, in hindsight, obviously, I was going to a very lucrative, big thing. It just wasn't cool at the time, so nobody really cared about it. And the pressure of it was, am I making the right decision? Because I really don't know the advertising business. But damn, this shit, they need help. I know I could make a contribution here, but do I know the business? And then you had other people saying, why would you leave the record business now? Shit is on fire. You got the biggest job. You got this. They paying you X amount of money. I went from $2.5 million a year salary to $150,000 to learn the advertising business. Mm-hmm. I've been going to Cannes for 20 years. This is what I do. Translating culture for Fortune 500 companies. When I was saying the word culture and translating culture, people looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what do you mean culture? They're like, well, You got black 18 to 24, you got white 18 to 24, you got Hispanics and all that. So I'm like, no. It doesn't work like that. People are connected through cultural values. If I like skateboarding and you like skateboarding and I'm from Compton and you're from Greenwich, Connecticut, we can connect on skateboarding. That's what connects people. Stop looking at the race does not tell you anything about the person. Their cultural values, their aspirations, that will tell you more about the person. Their fucking playlist will tell you more about the person than their race. But at the time, no one understood that. So when we were building the company, it was hard because everybody was like, these guys are talking about culture, and they made culture feel like a black company, like you're a black advertising agency. And I wasn't doing black anything. I was just making dope shit. The AI Jadakiss spot's not black.
Right.
It's just some fly ass shit. That's all I wanted to do. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, all that shit started popping up. We did that shit, that wasn't black. Chris Paul and Cliff Paul, and that wasn't black. That was cool, smart advertising. I'm loving it. Obviously, he's not black.
Pusha T is black.
Yeah, Pusha T is black.
Pusha T is very black.
Yeah, Pusha T is black.
Pusha T came up with that, which
It's Pharrell's half Asian, half black. I'm just joking. Pharrell's black. My point is,
Cultures for everybody.
yes, emerging subcultures
Yeah.
become popular culture.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing to know. When something is emerging, over time it will become popular culture. And I always pay attention to emerging subculture.
what I want to know is, after accomplishing so much, being able to weave your way in and out of so many different avenues, what is Steve Stoute and United Masters up to now? What's that next step?
Global. I mean, look, we launched in Africa, in Brazil. We have great artists. We have the biggest Latin act of the year, which is fantastic. I mean, to me, the globalization of music is very important. When we were coming up, an artist would go, rap act would go, let's say go to Germany to a festival, and you'd see, or anywhere, and you would see a bunch of people dancing, clapping, but didn't even understand the lyrics of the song because the energy around it was so dope that it didn't make a difference if it was in their language or not. And that America was exporting culture at that level. Now you're seeing it the other way around. You're seeing, I mean, Bad Bunny was a headliner at Coachella. Nobody knows what the fuck he was saying.
No idea.
Yeah, but you know what they was? But that's what's happening now. So where we used to do it, now it's, and that's the globalization of music. Artists are coming here. They're rocking. Regional Mexican music is huge right now. So this cultural exchange and music exchange, this is fire. So building a platform, which United Masters is, that's for everybody, regardless of genre of music, and it's global, being able to build out those services and offices and in these places, allowing these artists, remember you coming up, man, like, in order to make it, you have to go to New York or go to LA. Yep. You ain't gotta go nowhere to make it. You can make it right from where the fuck you are. We have a kid 18 years old from Chile that used our app, Floyd Minor, has a song called Gata Only. This kid's making millions of dollars right now. Song's at 1.8 billion streams. He just put it out in February. And this is because we built the platform. That's global. That's what's next for me, man. And just in general, we've covered a lot of topics. The Super Bowl thing, I want to get back to that for a second, man. I'm not here to defend anybody. I really don't like when people who open up doors as black people get shitted on publicly like that. I just don't like it. I think in that case, what Nicki did was wrong. To bring up Tidal, his streaming company, that he gave you equity in, that you didn't sign the fucking paperwork, and that's the reason why you left millions of dollars on the table? That man didn't do nothing to you. To be talking about somebody who's putting, whether it be Kendrick or Wayne or Drake or Usher, he's putting them on the biggest stage. That's what we should be applauding. That's growth. But the crabs in the barrel thing, oh, not him, fuck him, da-da-da-da-da. We can't do that. That's black on black crime. I don't like that.
No.
And maybe that's what it is. I think Nicki's great. I'm great artist. Very successful career. Don't do that. Just like, let's not do that in private. This social media thing where you start shooting at people like that, like, and not like a jab. I'm talking about like, fuck him and this and that's a little too much. I just think that's a little too much.
I will say this, and I'm in no means famous at all. I have gotten to be around Jay-Z a few times recently, and he's been nothing but kind and gracious and humble. I don't know his business inner workings.
Yeah.
I don't know how and what his relationships are with other people, but as far as the way that he's treated me, somebody who I know for sure can do nothing for him in any way, I think to me that's the measure of how I see him. I see him as a dude who's accomplished these great things, and I think the same way like athletes expect that Michael Jordan is gonna look when you meet him, that he's gonna walk around with this certain glow. To me, when I saw Jay-Z, like that's how he was. At the white party, it was, no, you're bougie, you were back there too. Like at the white party, nobody needs a rope at the white party. Everybody there but me and Alicia were famous. And Steve
there was a rope around
Steve had a rope.
Steve had a rope circling around you.
Steve and Jay had a rope, right? And so I'm walking past, I speak to Steve, obviously I dap him off. And so I walk around, and I swear, Jay-Z got up and he wasn't walking. Like he got over close to me and he never put his feet on the ground and his legs didn't move, like legitimately, because it was the first time I'd ever seen him in person. He just floated over.
Like the golden child?
Yeah, he just floated over and he didn't even say nothing to me. He just hit me with one of these and I left. I was like, oh wait, my night is over. But honestly, after getting to talk to him though and having a conversation with him and just seeing how aware he is, how his focus is always going forward, but he does have the time. I asked him to speak to Quincy Wilson, who had won a 400 gold medal. He was 16 years old at Fanatics Fest. Took his time, spent with that young man, had a conversation with him. So for me, I don't know about all the other stuff. I obviously want Wayne. I obviously want Wayne to have everything I feel like he's earned and deserved.
Wayne
I'm also a Kendrick fan though, so I understand.
Yeah. By the way, Wayne is outstanding.
Yeah.
Wayne is outstanding. And again, Wayne said publicly, Jay-Z helped him with his taxes. You think this man will help you? Not Wayne knows this. Wayne's hurt. I understand that. He wanted that badly. Absolutely makes perfect sense. Wayne doesn't think that he didn't give it to him because he hates him.
Right.
This man paid, but it's when other people start commenting on that and bringing it up. That's the part that I'm saying, because the beauty in it was that Jay helped Wayne. And Wayne publicly acknowledged that, and they're fucking cool. That's the beauty in the relationship, right? Despite the fact that this thing didn't go the way he wanted it to go. But when other people coming from the outside, others start commenting on it, and it makes it more like, fuck you, you hate him, your hatred for him. That part right there, that's not even true. That's not even true, as evidenced by other actions.
Nah, man, well, we appreciate you. I think I've learned more about hip hop in an hour and 15 minutes than I have watching 18 documentaries, because I try to watch them all. I appreciate your time. I know it's very valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank you for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for pivoting
All right,
with your boys.
I got a resume for you, but I'm lazy.
You ain't lazy, actually.
I don't work hard, man.
Keep going.
All love, bro. Out of the mix,
You gotta think, man, to work with Nas, though.
Yeah.
Mary, Mariah.
The biggest.
Way back.
He was the
Yeah,
biggest.
what you need to see, there's a great documentary called Stacks.
Okay.
It's about a music label that came out of Memphis in 65. And if you look at it, it's the best documentary I've ever seen on music because it's about music and the civil rights movement.
Wow.
But literally, it's Otis Wilson, Isaac Hayes. You know every single song ever that came
What's
out
the
of
name
this
of
thing.
it?
It's STAXX.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
It's
check
like one of these things, if you start watching it, you cannot stop watching it.
I'll check it out.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up.